Still, not sponsored by Duncan. It's the Woodworking Morning Show.
Everybody.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning to all of you. It's a weird morning, I can tell you that much. Sorry about being a little bit late.
Yeah.
But we're ready to roll.
We thought we were going to be early.
I started prepping for the show last night, and I'm like, I'm so ahead of the game, and then somehow we end up later than we've ever been. So thanks for your patience. But it's the morning show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
And we're going to answer some questions about woodworking. I'm going to grab questions from Patreon, and Nicole's going to grab them from the YouTube, the live chat.
The live chat.
We want to thank some people who helped us out.
I have one in particular that I'm very thankful for.
So folks who want to just kind of help us financially, we always appreciate that. It's definitely not required, but certainly appreciated over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/woodwhisperer. And then also on YouTube, there's a little join button for their little membership program. Pretty much the same thing. It's just happening on YouTube. And those folks helped us out there as well. So Matthew Kelly, Jerry Tolbert.
Dr. Jerry.
Dr.
Hi,
Jerry.
You're so nice.
Paul Tarter, Doug Terrell, Stephen Ho, J.A. Schatz, Andy Schmidtnar, and Kim Colwell.
Is it Jashitz?
I have no idea, but it's all one word.
So I know Jerry because we were on a podcast together.
Oh, really?
Yes. We were on the first season of America. I always mess it up. It's such a long title.
America's next best podcaster.
America's Next Top Podcaster. Jerry was one of the contestants.
Oh, yeah?
And I love him. He's so nice.
Okay.
And I actually formed a lot of friends via that podcast. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go Google America's Next Top Podcaster. Brian Ibbett over at Coverville is still doing that podcast.
That's awesome.
I dropped out of judging the first season because I'm like, I can't take this.
It's a lot of work.
Well, it's not even about the work. I just felt bad.
It's responsibility.
I felt bad being critical of people.
Anytime I have done like a woodworking competition,
right?
Even the simplest things, like we did that one for our friends in Arizona.
Yep.
They had a little local thing, and it was a bunch of like 12-year-old kids.
Yes, don't crush a dream.
And they're making videos of these great things that they've made, but I have to tell like 3 of them that they're better than the others.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, that is a tricky thing to do. You got to get into a certain mindset.
It was just hard for me
I get
to
it.
be critical of people. And I even there are a few of them that I wouldn't say mean to, but I felt bad. I felt bad.
It's a tricky thing to do. All right, so I wanted to let you guys know about something. It was brought across.
Oh, yeah.
It was, something that someone posted in the Facebook group for the Guild. The Gamble House virtual tour. Did you guys have a chance to see this? I'm going to show it to you real quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time there, but I think you might find this compelling, because I sure did.
Well, this is how realtors have been showing houses through the pandemic, and the people at the Gamble House said, "Hey, we can do this."
That too. So if you think of Google Street View, where you just kind of click through and you could walk through the house. If you're not familiar, Green and Green, they make those beautiful bungalows. I'm having trouble with the trackpad here.
Hello.
Oh, look, there's 2 people. I wonder if those are the owners.
Yeah, maybe.
What are they? Is it Procter and Gamble? I believe.
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's the Gamble House, Nicole. Hence the name. I'm so stupid today.
Why isn't it called the Procter House?
Because the Procter didn't buy it.
Okay.
Gamble did. All right, but check this out. You can actually go through the entire house. You can even snap measurements in here if you need to. I don't know how accurate it is, but you have little dots that you can click on with important information. There's videos embedded in there. I'm not going to make you guys go through all this right now, but I highly recommend you check it out if you have any interest in Green and Green.
Furniture.
The Gamble House is amazing.
Yeah.
It was transformative for me to visit it in person. I've been there twice.
Was it the inside that was featured in Back to the Future? Doc Brown's was...
Okay, so this is my understanding of it, and I really research these things a lot, Nicole.
Okay.
So Doc Brown's house in Back to the Future is the exterior of the Gamble house.
Yes.
And then at one point he runs from the house to the garage. That is all filmed in Pasadena. Yeah. The interiors of the house, from what I understand, were filmed at the Blacker house. That's a different house.
Oh, yeah.
It's a private owner at this point, but they were able to use the interiors to film parts of Back to the Future. And then Zathura is another movie that people tend to confuse with this, which the exterior is a green and green bungalow, but it is not the Gamble house. It is not the Blacker house. It's another house that, again, is privately owned. And the interiors were filmed on a set. And as I understood it, I think it was Favreau directed that movie. The interiors were made and then destroyed after it was done, but they made it look like green and green on the inside. So that's some of the movie history.
Interesting.
But they're great. They're great buildings, great homes that just, if you're making a movie and you want an interesting setting for a house, a green and green house is pretty amazing.
Hey, we just got a super chat from Naughty Burl Woodworks. He said, just for answering all my questions on Instagram. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, I'm glad to do it. Always glad to do it.
Thanks, Naughty.
So spend some time there. Check that out. We're going to put the link in the hoochie. What do you call it?
So I'm going, why don't I have my normal controls here? It's because I'm underneath the Wood Whisperer Espanol account.
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
hola, everyone.
We have, if you happen to speak Spanish, if Spanish is your native language, we have a lot of the Wood Whisperer videos dubbed in Spanish.
It's actually really well done. I mean, it looks
really
like a kung fu movie. A Spanish kung fu movie, if you can imagine such a thing. But it was someone put some care and attention into the translations.
A company called Paper Cup, and then they realized we weren't really a viable source.
They weren't making enough money off of us.
Yeah, it just wasn't happening fast enough, and that's okay. But
maybe the problem is I look Spanish. You know what I mean? So the translation thing was just annoying. They're like, why isn't he just speaking Spanish?
So if you just look up Wood Whisperer Espanol, you'll find a ton of videos. Me dubbed and Mark dubbed. I kind of like. Pretty good. I kind of like to see myself dubbed.
It's fun to watch
in Spanish. So there you go.
Okay, let's get to some questions, Nicole.
All right.
Enough of this chit chat, riff raff. You know it's cold here. It's very cold here.
Everybody in the chat room's talking about how cold it is there.
It's so cold right now. Denver doesn't usually get this cold, so it's fun. That said, the mini split doing its thing. It's going to be sub-zero temperatures, and that Mitsubishi is going to hold up. I hope. Okay, Sebastian Marchand says, for the Morley chair, that's in the Wood Whisperer Guild, you can check that out. Philip uses the pantorouter a lot, but mentions that using a domino should be fine. Do you think that it's worth setting the domino at the widest setting and making a floating tenon that matches that width? According to, he gave me a link, something on tenon widths. The widest setting makes the mortise 10 millimeters wider. Yeah, I mean, if it gets you closer to what Philip recommends you use as a regular size tenon, the wider you go, as long as the workpiece supports it, the better off you are. So is it worth it deviating from the world of dominoes just to do that? It's a personal decision. But yes, I actually think the joint would benefit from it. Then you're reducing the domino to simply a router, like a weird shaped router. Make your own tenons, and if that makes the joint wider, then sure, it's going to be stronger. So on a chair, yeah, probably worth it.
Totally worth it.
Totally. What else we got here? Dennis.
Lots of questions.
Nahorny. Dennis Nahorny. He says, I'm not even going to take that bait, Nicole.
Okay.
I'm going to lay off. What's the best thickness material to use as a template for routing, 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch? I don't know that I'm going to say there's a best. I think the best material is what you have laying around that you don't have to pay a lot of money for, something that's inexpensive and easy to replace. I tend to go to 1/4 inch because over the course of time, as you save these templates, if you do like most woodworkers and you put them up on a wall or put them in a storage space, the bigger and heavier they are, the more annoying they are to move around. You don't need much bearing surface, and 1/4 inch usually covers that. So I go with 1/4 inch. If you're doing something that you want it to last even longer, you want more durability, then go with 1/2 inch. But you don't need to go with 1/2 inch.
I miss Robert Price's super chat. He said, a little something to shame those Duncan jerks into pulling their weight.
Yeah.
We would have been late.
Nothing helps with a sponsor more than shaming them. Let's do that. More of that, please.
Mark was like, you think we got time for Duncan? It was like 9:10. I'm like, no.
She's like, screw them. They don't sponsor us. I'm I'm going to Starbucks.
Oh, we just home coffee.
Okay.
In my Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade mug
Getting a phone
today.
call. You know what's weird? I don't get phone calls.
Don't answer it.
Oh, of course I'm not going to answer it, Nicole. I'm doing a show here. Don't they know?
Don't they know?
WPT asked a very important question. I want to know the secret to your marriage. You guys are so great together.
Aw.
Here's the secret to our marriage. We only show it publicly 1 hour a week on YouTube. And when you judge by that, everything's great,
everything's
right?
great.
Everything's
Yeah,
perfect.
perfect.
That's the secret. I'm noticing gray's not my color. It
No?
really brings out the gray in my hair,
Oh, yeah, it does, huh?
like excessively. So, okay, anyway, enough about me.
So what is the secret to our marriage?
I don't know, but I gotta say, Jonathan Katz-Moses is here, and he says Mahorny.
Horny.
Well, that guy's name was Mahorny.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's up, man? Nice of you to stop by.
Maybe we'll talk more about the marriage thing in the after show.
Okay.
We're gonna talk woodworking.
Sure,
here.
let's talk woodworking.
We do have a question. From
Okay, Kurt Allen says, would you prefer a spiral upcut or downcut bit when making cuts on the taper maker? And did you find a power strip surge protector you especially liked for the gaming desk? Okay. You know, I think a lot of times we make a little bit more fuss about up spiral and down spiral. A lot of times you want to think about the direction of tear out, like where is your, depending on what you're doing, where is the support for the work? You know, sometimes you have a piece on the bottom or you have a template on one side or the other. But here's the thing. I usually buy upcut spiral bits. That usually works most often for my purposes, and it tends to pull the dust and the chips out of the hole, which is generally better. But if it's sharp, if it's a fairly new bit, I don't think you're going to notice much difference, right? So typically I just recommend people buy the up spiral. That's going to work in most situations, give you a nice clean cut, keep the bit from bluing and getting too hot. And the little minute bit of tear out that you might get from that, it's usually not anything to worry about until that bit really starts to be at the end of its life. So I don't stress about it too much.
Jockey said you did a demonstration of Rubio monocoat on a table a while back
Heck
in
yeah, I did.
one of your videos. A few of your videos. How is that table holding up? Have you had to reapply the maintenance oil?
The only thing I did was on our kitchen table. I reapplied it, but wasn't it like I refinished the whole thing? No.
Yeah.
I think what it was is I switched to Rubio.
Yeah.
That's what I did on that one. And no, I haven't had to reapply. We've got Rubio on a couple of furniture pieces, including our kitchen table, which gets heavy use.
Ugh, the kids are hard on that table.
Yeah, we have a floor in the basement in the craft room. I've got a little bit of millwork downstairs that also is finished with that. I haven't had to reapply it to anything yet, or reapply the universal maintenance oil. So,
Well, in fact,
so far so good.
On the kitchen table, one of the kids put this weird slime and just left it overnight.
Yeah,
and
the tannin stain.
It created like this weird. It was weird. It was a blob.
Yeah.
And so you got that tannin stain. It was a little
Yeah, they
bottle.
make a tannin remover.
Yeah,
little tiny bottle.
A little bit of, and it
Worked
took
like a charm.
Oh man, it was awesome.
That was really, really good. Alan Lilich says,
Alan.
okay, short question. Mark, did you make, oh wait, I forgot to answer the question about the power strip. You know, I just bought a regular power strip back there. I didn't really put too much thought into it. I think I went to Home Depot and bought one
That looks good.
really what I needed was, because of the little holder in the back of the desk, I needed the outlets to be in a particular orientation, right? So that wall wart type things could plug in sideways. That was my biggest concern, and I didn't want it to be too big. So with those two things in mind, I went to the store and bought a power, what do you call it? Power strip. Okay, back to Alan's question.
Alan.
Did you make a cabinet a while back with drawer pulls that seemed to be sculpted right out of the drawer front? They were separate pieces, but the illusion was perfect. Longer explanation. I apologize for such a nebulous question, but I've not succeeded with various keyword searches on the public or guild sites. I accidentally okay, that's a lot of information. I think he's talking about my desk. So the executive desk in the Wood Whisperer Guild, and I believe we did a free version of that,
I think so
summary
too.
video.
Yeah, summary video.
The top of the drawers had a larger strip attached to it of the same species, and that strip was sculpted to kind of be almost like a little waterfall that you could then put your fingers under as a pull. So check the executive desk project.
Rick Feldman wants to know when. Rick. When will the new outfeed assembly videos and plans be available?
God, guys!
Soon, really soon, like a month soon.
So
is a month soon?
No. Todd says that he will try by the end of next week to get the final edit to me.
Okay.
I have the plans done. Shit. Oh, shoot. That doesn't happen often, and I apologize. If you have young ones around with sensitive ears, my bad. I lost my train of thought. Okay, so I think next week we'll have the video done, but I could put the plans up and put those up for sale. If people are like that interested and you want to get started, you'll have the cut list. You'll have a write-up. It's a fairly short write-up. You do want to watch the video, but if people are in a rush and they want to get started, I could probably put that up for sale. But next week, I think, is when we're expecting to have the video finally done, and then the whole package will be available. I just don't want people to get confused if they don't have the video.
Seth Down says, you all should be YouTube members of the channel. They have drawings for guild projects. Sometimes, actually, it's a new thing that I'm doing. You get to support early Friday. So yeah, Seth is right. So on Patreon at the $5 level, we put the post for questions, and then I pull from those and give out a project. We have a $5 level on YouTube, and I'm like, well, I'm going to do that there too. So that's what I've started doing the last couple weeks. So that's what Seth is talking about.
I can't believe I cursed. I'm pretty good about that. Like, if you guys have been with us for a while, I don't swear on this show. But it just, sometimes it just squeaks out like a little turd. Okay, Yoso has a question. He says, it seems to me that when you need more working time on a glue up, you tend to gravitate toward liquid hide glue instead of the extended time version of PVA glues like Titebond Extend, which are designed specifically for that purpose and cheaper and seem easier to work with. Can you please share your reasoning behind that? Well, that's not totally true. I have done hide glue a couple different times just because I heard that the open time is good and I just wanted to try it out. Most of the time, I would say that if I really need long open time, I'm going with epoxy. That tends to give me better results, more consistent. I like working with it. And I've got a couple big jugs. Got some big jugs.
Yes, you do. Did you use epoxy on the gaming table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was because I was veneering wood to plastic.
Okay.
To plexiglass.
Okay.
So that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
You know, the Titebond Extend glues, and keep in mind, I'm in a very dry environment here in Denver. So any water-based glue is going to dry pretty quickly, even the stuff that has longer open time. And also with a water-based glue, what you have is swelling of the joints. So if you have a joint that fit kind of snug, just because it gives you, let's hypothetically say, you get 10 minutes of working time with it, that's 10 minutes for water-based glue to sit on a joint, and that joint will swell, and that makes it very difficult to assemble. So while you have longer open time, sometimes the PVA versions or those water-based glues are not the best choice for a long glue up, just depending on what you're doing. So epoxy, hide glue, these are things that are not, I think you can dilute hide glue with water, but there's definitely not as much water in it. Polyurethane glue, epoxy, these are glues that will sit on the wood and not necessarily swell the joints. So you still get the working time, plus you get a joint that goes together without a hammer, and that's usually why I will gravitate toward those.
Apopina says, when do we get to see the live event about Nicole drilling holes in the outfeed table?
Well, that was, we did get that recorded, didn't we?
Did we?
I'm pretty sure we did.
When I did it, I was like,
we'll see if it comes up.
That's not the right color.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes up in the edit, but I think we did actually get that recorded. Speaking of recording things like that, funny moments like that. So the bandsaw blade break that happened last week, I think it was.
Was it last week?
I did get that recorded, so I have the video of it, and I can tell you it's not very exciting, but I do have the video. I am considering doing a special video if the local people, the Rocky Mountain Saw Blade people, are up for it. If they let me come down to their shop, I would love to film them doing a weld, show what that process is like, and also talk about my experience and the break that I had, what could contribute to that, and actually just get some information straight from the source of people who do this stuff every day. And put that, the video just showing it broke, here's where I went, this is how you fix it, this is why it may have broken, was it a bad weld?
I think that'd be good.
I think it'd be cool to talk about that. We haven't done anything on location.
You should probably reach out to them. Or if they're happen to be watching, which I'm guessing they're probably not.
They're probably busy working.
They're probably busy working.
Okay. Lucas wants to know, do you know of any circle cutting jigs for the OF 1400? I used to have a Jasper jig for previous routers. but no good with a Festool. Don't see anything by Festool themselves. Surprisingly, maybe I missed something. Okay, well, I usually make my circle cutting jigs. If we're talking about like a trammel arm, super easy to make. I don't think there's a reason to buy one necessarily, but if you want to buy one, you might check the new Woodpeckers thing. I don't know if it's a one-time tool, but I know I saw some buzz about this crazy, multi-purpose jig that they have, and one of the things it's going to do is the circle cutting. And then always forget the name of that company. Empower? Was that the company that made the router thing? We even showed it on the morning show. It's a whole setup with an edge guide, a circle cutting jig.
Yes, Empower.
Empower.
Yeah.
So check them out. They also have a universal jig that might work for cutting circles. I'd have to bet
Empower
that
tools.
if you contact maybe Rockler, they probably have a circle cutting jig as well that will fit on multiple routers. And I don't know if it fits on Festool, but it's worth looking into.
Is that them? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They make sharpening stuff too.
Yeah, they
Excuse me.
they were featured in a few of our morning show videos.
Yep.
There you go. I put a link to Empower.
You got some choices there, Lucas. Jason Stoffel says, are there any features you wish you would have added or left out of your executive desk? What would you alter if you had to build a replacement? Not really. I mean, the desk does everything I need it to do. I've added hard drives. I've added RAID enclosures. I've taken them away. I don't know how much of the fan addition I put into that series. I'm not sure if I did an extra video on that. But I did add a fan system to exhaust the heat out of that compartment. That works great now. But man, it was pretty well designed. I knew what I needed, and everything's pretty good about it. I don't really use the wireless charging because I've got not only a case, but I've got credit cards. It's a credit card case with my driver's license and all that stuff. That makes it very difficult to charge even on a regular wireless charger, but put that under a piece of wood, and now it's almost impossible. Not almost, it is impossible to get that thing to charge through that little bit of wood that's on the surface. So I think I probably would skip that, but honestly, the only reason I added that was because I knew people would think it was cool, so he added it. Whatever. But outside of that, I can't think of anything else. I mean, the cable management on that thing is fantastic. I have since added a double arm, dual monitor, how do you say it? Vesa? I always hear it pronounced different ways.
Cerveza?
But a Cerveza mount. One of those double arm units that holds my my iMac and my monitor, secondary monitor, and it just works great. So not a whole lot that I would change about it.
Got a nice super chat from Fred Anton. Is it Anton? Anto. Fat Tuesday is next week.
Okay.
So I would like to buy you a I don't know how to say that.
Patsky.
What's that? I'm gonna.
Poxy.
I feel like it's like a.
It sounds like something I should be able to eat.
Yeah, it feels like a pastry to me. Let's
Can
see
I
what.
eat?
Let's see what it is.
If I can eat it.
It's fried dough. There it is. Oh, those look good. It's like a jelly donut.
Yeah, that looks delicious.
Oh, it's Polish.
Yeah, it definitely looked like a Polish word, so I can get behind that. Okay, I'll eat one of those. It looks like it's got powdered sugar.
Yep.
You know what sucks when you breathe in powdered sugar? Have you ever done that?
No.
So as you go to bite it, if you happen to be breathing at the same time, it's so light, you suck it in and then you choke to death for 5 seconds. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The powdered sugar choke?
Oh man, that looks good. Oh, pierogies.
Punchki.
So
he says it's pronounced punchki.
Punchki. So pierogies those are Polish too, right? But your grandmother was Hungarian.
Yeah.
But they're also
we usually pronounce that Hungarian.
What did I say?
Hungarian. That's fine.
Hungarian.
I love how I'm making fun of the way you pronounce something. Considering that's one of my favorite YouTube comments to get is my pronunciation of things.
Yeah.
Because I am from the Philly area. Suck it up.
We both have it's going to be interesting to see which accent traits our kids take on.
Who knows? I wanna eat some punchkis, I can tell you that much. Slap some punchkis in my mouth. Hey, do you guys know what you do, what you're supposed to do before the real tickle?
Don't do that here.
Do you know what you're supposed to do before the real tickle?
Yeah, I know.
A couple of testicles.
Yeah. Okay. Nice dad joke.
I told that to Mateo yesterday.
Yeah.
Took him a while to get it.
Speaking of Mateo, you're holding on to this. Our son is cut from the same cloth as his dad.
Yeah, I'm raising him right.
He made a little Valentine for his dad. You can't see it. He learned about elephant shrews or shrew elephants. I don't know. But it's like a little mouse, has a long nose. And he loves he was so proud of this pun.
Yeah.
Because he says, Dad, I love shrew.
I love shrew.
And then he
drew a little shrew.
Shrew elephant, and he was like, ha ha. Anyway.
Okay, so I don't think there really is a Colorado accent, but
I'm sure there is.
no, I don't think there really is. But the only thing I've heard that Coloradans pronounce differently, if you're actually like a local, is the word Colorado. It's like Colorado.
Colorado.
And when you hear someone pronounce it that way, you go, okay, this person is native. Outside of that, I haven't heard any kind of distinct Colorado accent.
I'm sure it's there.
I'm sorry, Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm out of questions, by the way.
I have lots. I've been
I'm tapped
gathering
out.
them all. This is from Gorgon Bishop. I think I said his name right. He said his cutting board, end grain cutting board, keeps warping. How does he stop that?
Well, you stop making end grain cutting boards.
Mark doesn't like
That's
it.
the secret to my success.
He's like, I show you how to make them. I'm not going to say they're going to look good.
Yeah,
10
the problem
years
with
from
it,
now.
I say this all the time, the problem with an end grain cutting board is you are asking a lot of the wood as a natural product to not do what natural products tend to do. And that is move and shift. And you have a lot of fighting grain in an end grain board. Plus, the most absorbent portion of a board, or the most absorbent face of a board, is that end grain. And you're making a board completely comprised of that absorbent end grain. So you have to, go through a lot to make sure that it is not soaking in water, but it still tends to be more absorbent than, a face grain board would be. So you have all these glue joints. You've got just a lot going on that could contribute to a cutting board warping. The best things you can do, just using good kiln-dried material, good milling practices, good glue-up practices.
I'd be curious what that board is made out of. Like,
Yeah.
what are the woods that you used?
It could be wood species that could be
Yeah.
problematic, and then how the board is treated once it's made and brought into the kitchen, how waterproof it is, how much it absorbs. There's times where we might spill something on the counter, and if it seeps under the cutting board and you didn't realize it, you can get a real big problem at that point. So you do have to be careful about water exposure in the kitchen. But there's so many variables that lead to a cutting board warping. It's almost impossible to diagnose, from a distance what actually happened, especially since things as simple as the glue up. If you didn't apply pressure evenly across the surface, once you take that out of the clamps, sometimes you can get that little cup in it because your clamping pressure was, sort of biased to one side.
He says it's walnut maple that he made it out of. So.
It's just that it's anyone who makes end grain cutting boards tends to work out these problems for the most part, and they send off good, clean, flat boards. But what happens after that point, that's one of the reasons why I stopped selling them, was because there's no way I could warranty this in a meaningful way. So it's kind of the nature of the beast.
I got a question here from Scott Kane. Good morning, Mark. Are you using a 36 millimeter or 27 millimeter hose on your Capex 120? Where's your Capex?
I'm going to go with the bigger number.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't know the millimeter sizes. So they make the really fat one that's kind of like the shop vac size. Then they make the really skinny one, which is the one that you're going to pop into like the domino. And I think we're talking about the one that's in the middle. That's a little bit bigger. I use the larger diameter. From what I understand, if you use the smallest size, you're really cutting off a lot of airflow on the Capex. It works a lot better with the bigger hose, but it is not the largest hose, because I think that would require an adapter to fit. So again, I don't know the millimeter size diameter numbers, but what you got there?
A super chat. I like it when you put them up on the screen.
Super chat from Martin Moses. You got a question?
Underneath it.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Suggestions on building an expanding trestle table out of solid walnut, i.e. keeping the table flat so that the leaves will stay lined up. I don't want to use breadboards. This goes back to the cutting board, right? Use good kiln-dried material. If you have the option to use maybe quarter sawn or rift sawn stock, that's something that will really help keep that thing nice and stable over time. If I had to do something like that, it might be hard to find, but I would seek out rift or quarter sawn stock. It tends to be more stable and stay flatter, and in this case, it's an investment in the long-term survivability of this table. I would totally look into that. Outside of that, it's just a matter of using good, well-acclimated, dry material, giving it a good finish, and sending it off into the sunset and hoping for the best.
John McCarthy, speaking of wood movement, has anything notable happened with the gaming desk yet? Nothing.
Not yet. No explosions.
Though I will say, so I sat down.
Here we go.
I sat down
Here we
and
go.
I used.
The truth comes out.
What's the deal with like the gum catch underneath it?
It's where you put your gum. What are you talking
There's
about?
like a groove, so I felt.
That's for the LED light.
Oh.
So there's a channel
It was
under
like-
the underside that a LED neon light strip is shoved up into.
I could just see
So you feel it with your fingers, it's a piece of plastic or rubber.
because it's like a little groove.
Here's the thing. I don't want to fill it. I
Yeah.
could certainly fill
No.
that, but then I can't easily replace those lights if it happens that I need to.
Because when I felt that, I'm like, this is a place that gum and boogers are going to end up.
Well, Nicole, throw your gum in the trash and put your boogers in a tissue. I don't
Not
know why.
for me.
Why are you wiping your
for me.
boogers on a
I'm
desk?
talking about Mateo
Oh.
if he's sitting there gaming. Because he sits there and he just kind of, and then he just.
Well, let's fix that. Don't blame my desk for
I
our
have
son's faults.
I have tissues everywhere.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's the groove that is it's basically pressure
Okay.
fit.
Okay.
And I've got a little hot glue that holds the LED strip in place. It also, the other thing is I use that as a way to kind of let the strip breathe in case there's any heat buildup.
That makes sense.
It's got access to air. But it's
I
nice
just-
to know that you wipe your boogers
No,
everywhere.
not me.
Can I tell that story about that time when you flicked a booger and hit my arm?
That was you.
Oh, that was me that did that? Okay.
Brian P. wants to know, is there a standard for rough sawn lumber to dimensional lumber yield, i.e., I can't do these numbers. 4 and 4, what's 4? 4 quarter?
Yeah,
4 quarter.
4/4 yields a 3/4 inch board. What would a 6/4? Yeah, just Google that, Brian. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. For instance, the ones I work with the most are 4/4 and 8/4. So 4/4, you can at least expect to get a 3/4 inch board,
Right.
if not a little bit more. If it's truly rough sawn, if you're milling it yourself and it's a fairly straight board, that's why I love really, really rough stock, because that means that I actually may end up at 7/8, and I like that better than 3/4.
So like a
8/4, you could expect 1 3/4 of an inch as your final dimension
people
after
that-
milling.
Everybody outside the U.S. that doesn't use imperial is going,
Yeah.
what are they talking about?
Oh, hold on. We got
Don't
some
worry, it messes with my
title
head.
suggestions for the show. Nicole's boogers.
Stop it.
I actually think we should be more descriptive. Nicole wipes her boogers
No!
under desks.
I was thinking my son using this.
I'm going, after we're done here, I'm going to go look for boogers and gum. That's it. There's the title. Boogers and gum. Okay. What else?
Oh my God, you're crazy. All right, we got we got Weston asking, just made a large jewelry box cabinet with dovetails for my mom. Oh, that was nice. And pre-finished the interior before the glue up. Question, does oil on wood before gluing affect the strength of the joint?
Absolutely. So oil has, I mean, I don't know exactly what you used. You could have used straight oil, like a boiled linseed oil or tongue oil, or you may have used an oil-based product that happens to have some varnish in it. So oils will kind of soak into the fibers, and the whole point of using them is that they tend to seal, or at least partially seal, especially if it's just like a single coat of oil. It's not really going to be truly sealed, but it'll be a little bit sealed, only mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
And in order for most typical woodworking glues to work, they have to absorb into the fibers. So if you sealed off those fibers, you do impact the glue joint's strength. Now, depending on the, what joints you used, are we talking about the dovetail joints? Because depending on how you did that, really the most strong point of that joint is on the sides, where the long grain meets the long grain. So as long as you didn't get oil there, you're perfectly fine. It shouldn't be a problem. So there's a lot of, it depends on this based on the structure of the project, what kind of material you used. The glue can still work, and sometimes if it's a small piece that's just contained and everything's captured, it'll be fine. But most of the time, just general practice, you want to keep the wood as raw as possible before the wood glue hits it. Alternatively, if you know that it's been pre-finished, you know there's some oil there, you could use something like a polyurethane glue or epoxy, which is going to care a little bit less about the fact that wood has some oil on it.
Let's see. There was a suggestion from what?
Kevin Windsor says, some think it's candy, but it's not. Like Elf,
Yeah.
getting the gum off the railing.
Let's
jeez.
see.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
I'm out of questions.
JBoats51 says, thank you for your poly mineral spirits finishing video. It's my favorite way to finish.
You're welcome.
And speaking of finishing, we got Marshall Evans in the chat, and he's trying to finish stage he's on the finishing stage of a table. Unfortunately, it's been freezing in Nebraska this week, and I have no heat source in my shop. What temp would you make sure your shop is at to apply poly?
The one on the back of the can.
Yeah. Does it say it on the back of the can?
It's usually, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's usually, what, in the 60s, 65 degrees, maybe 55 at the lowest. But there are a lot of times I will tell people to ignore the instructions on the back of a finishing can because there's a lot of CYA action going on there. But in this case, temperatures really do matter, and I would follow the manufacturer's instructions. If you can't get your shop up to that temperature and you can't move the piece that you built into a place that has that temperature, then stop and wait. I don't think you want to really deal with a finish that isn't curing like that. So follow the manufacturer's instructions.
Keeping on the finishing track, John McCarthy says, what's your go-to method for stripping old finish off furniture when you used to do it professionally? Mother-in-law wants me to refinish her dining room table. They used to dip it.
Let's be careful with that word professional.
Yeah. You were paid.
Let's sling that around.
You were paid to do it.
I was paid. Technically, it was professionally done. Well, yeah, I mean...
They had a huge dip
When
tank.
I worked at a refinishing shop, there was a giant tank. I think it's the same one that the Joker fell into that caused him to have his his problems.
Yes.
And but it was basically regular furniture finish stripper. I forget what the chemical is called, but it's pretty nasty stuff, and you don't really want to play with that. So, I mean, they make a lot of nicer, more environmentally friendly strippers on the market, citrus strippers and things. They just take more time to work. So, when I did your brother's door, way back when, I used a citrus stripper, and you just let it sit and then come back with a scraper and scrape that schmutz off of there. It's a little bit better to work with and not as nasty. That's really what I have used in the past. I try to scrape and sand if possible with a good, dust collector, so it's not all getting out into the environment. If you don't have to use stripper, why use it?
What is that stripper called?
Citrus strip, I think, was the one that I got.
Strip.
Either that or Candy was her name. I know that's what you were setting me up for, Nicole.
I know.
So I had to go for
Which one was it?
I don't know. It's one of them.
Yeah.
Pick a bottle.
Pick
Any
a bottle. Really, are they all the same?
They're kind of the same, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you really want, I think, what is it? Methylene chloride? Is that what it just hit me? I think that's the one that you buy like at Home Depot and Lowe's. That's the really nasty stuff. You got to be much more careful with that.
Because there's like Smart Strip.
Here's the thing. I don't do this very often, so there probably are other new products that maybe work better that you might want to look into. Don't make fun of me for swallowing my uvula.
I'm not making, I didn't
I
say
have
anything.
an enlarged uvula,
Yeah.
I've determined. It's huge.
It's funny. Did you buy it underneath the business? Because I was just
I bought
looking.
it at Home Depot.
Oh, you went to Home Depot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're curious, I'm going to throw one of these in our Amazon store. So if you go to Amazon.com
The stripper's name was Cinnamon.
/shop/The Wood Whisperer, you'll see it underneath Friday Live.
I'm looking for, go to Home Depot. I'm looking for a stripper. I think it's called Cinnamon. She was very nice to me last time I was here.
All right. I got more questions. This one is from John. Did I already ask this one? Nope.
Matt Van Overloop says that it was banned. You can't get it anymore.
What?
The good stuff.
Oh.
The methylene chloride.
People were like
It was one of those things where you spread it around, and I'm, wearing gloves. I'm being careful with this stuff, but sometimes you get a little, splash. Yeah. And you know it when it happens. I remember in Arizona, I would get like a little tiny spot on my leg, and it's almost like a horsefly is biting you. You're like, ah! And you go and wash it off real quick. This stuff is nasty.
That's crazy. Question from John, making sure I didn't ask this one yet. He said, what do you recommend for a dining table that the finish is unknown? We're talking about finishing a lot today. Mm-hmm. We've been covering it for fear of damaging it and would like the wood to be protected for normal dining. Did I get that right?
The finish is unknown? John, just use your table, man. The finish not being unknown to you, I don't know that should limit how much you use the table or how much you need to protect it. The thing is, just use it. Usage will kind of tell you something about it. but does it look like it has a finish on
He
it?
doesn't want to refinish it, is what I'm gathering.
Well, sure, but I mean, you don't want to be those people that put plastic on your couch like my grandmom used to, right?
So, that's a funny thing. If you have HBO Max, there is a really funny show called How To with John, I can't remember his last name, but he does a whole episode on protecting why people put plastic on their furniture.
Yeah.
It was really funny and
Like
interesting.
the people who don't take the plastic film off of their TVs.
Yeah. And he like interviewed a ton of people that put plastic on their furniture. It was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of if I received a table and I couldn't tell what finish was on it, I don't know that I would.
John Wilson.
Would treat it any differently. You want to be careful with it because it's a piece of furniture that you purchased and you want it to look good. Take all the same precautions you always take, but I don't know like what you're looking for out of this. Like even if you knew what the finish was, I don't know how that might change your behavior. You're going to use the table like you would normally use a table. And just see what happens from that point. So Brad is here.
How to cover your furniture was the episode. Watch it. It's really funny.
Yeah. Okay, had trouble adding that to the feed. Brad from Fix This Build That.
Hey, Brad.
This morning, it's like the show of the stars. They're all here. Where's Cremona? He's busy posting pictures of logs and telling people what temperature it is. Really important stuff.
Taking pictures of snow. Is it snow there?
Snow
I would have
and
to imagine.
logs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's cold.
Is it?
It's like sub-zero temps every day.
Let's see. David Hernandez. PM 2000 table saw issues with lowering the casters. The casters engage when I pull the tilt wheel and raise. When lowering, it's like 100 turns with resistance. Have you had this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is and what the screw is that they're using in there to bring those casters down, but when I had to move that thing for the floor project recently, I was remarking to John about this, like, I don't know why it's designed this way, but it takes about 1,000 turns to get that go all the way down.
I think you're exaggerating because David said it was only 100.
It was at least 100. I'm serious.
Okay.
It takes a lot. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that and why it takes so long, but it's the same way for me. Eventually you get there, get a sandwich while you're there. Just keep turning.
Get a sandwich.
So you have something to do, but it takes a while.
David, you're not alone. Phil, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to use a kerf maker jig. Watched various videos, never knew that I was ADHD. Can you explain in an easy to understand terms? My dados are too wide.
I can't. I don't have one. I've never used one. It's supposed to make it easier. So I don't know why it's not easier for you.
It's okay, Phil.
Phil, I wish I could give you instructions.
Maybe somebody in the chat room can point you to a good resource.
Well, something seems like it's really missing because the whole point of something like that is to make that sizing of the dado a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
The only trick I use for that is Woodpecker's little dado hoochie thing that they have. So they for a period of time.
What is it? Dado hoochie?
A dado hoochie.
A dado hoochie?
If you search on their site,
I'm gonna look Woodpecker's dado hoochie.
Yeah. So they got this little thing. Setting up a dado stack, a lot of times the trouble with setting it up is the fact that you can't really compress the plates very well to get an accurate measurement on it. So they came up with this little thing, I think we even showed it here on the morning show, where you actually can kind of load it up on the bench top and get your dado stack in there, get your inserts in there, get your little shims in there, tighten it up, and then you use this little tester to determine what the width of that is.
Is it called the exact width dado jig?
No.
Is that it? No?
Nope. That's their exact width dado jig.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm looking.
Yeah, and it's just a little tester
Oh,
thing.
dado setup fixture?
Yes.
I found it for you, Phil.
But again, it's retired. This is no good for you.
You might be able to find it aftermarket.
Possibly.
Do you have one?
I do. This is what I'm talking about. That's if I use something that's like a gimmicky trick to get a dado sized, that's what I use. But most of the time, I kind of just get pretty close and then make one adjustment with a shim, test it again, and then move forward.
Yeah, it says it's out of stock.
But again, the kerf makers, or I think that's what it's called. It's supposed to be easy, and I don't know enough about it.
Have you reached out to the company that makes them? Because they might have something that could
is
help
that
you.
Is that Bridge City Toolworks that makes that, you guys?
Kerf maker jig?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's Bridge City.
Jig. All right. I don't know.
Yeah, they won't answer it. They moved everything to China.
It says
Just kidding.
hot. It says
Yeah,
Rockler. Oh yeah, Bridge City.
Bridge City Tool Works.
Bridge City.
All right, what else we have? We got to round out this show, Nicole.
All right.
I know we're late, but we can't go much longer.
Yeah.
I got things to do.
Make sure I didn't miss any super chats.
I'll try.
I think I'm caught up, but then again, I got just a message. Karen G. I make a lot of router bowls, and I've had a hard time sanding the inside where the grain is, as well as the curve where it transitions to face grain. I mostly do it by hand because every shortcut I've ever tried causes me more work in the end. I don't mind putting in the work, but it takes me forever. I'd like these to turn out quicker. Is there a better, easier way to get good results?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're using specifically, Karen. Look into what bowl turners will use a lot of times. So
Did
there are
Ashley talk about anything like that in the bowl turning class?
Yeah, maybe. I think so. I think there are attachments that you can buy that you could put into a regular, battery-powered drill. That's one thing to look into. So it's just a soft pad on a stick, basically, and you just put a little sticky sandpaper on there, and you can kind of get into all your contours. I believe Arbortech. Didn't Arbortech come out with something for sanding bowls and sanding carvings?
Yeah, I think so.
So they probably have something that you can look into. I mean, the idea is it's just, spending enough time in there to go and progress through your grits. I don't know that it's going to work for something that's really small, but you might look into... Dang it, I don't even have one. Why do I not have a gooseneck scraper?
Yeah, you have one. I thought I saw one.
Nope, a gooseneck card scraper is one that has lots of... various, it looks like a French curve. It's got a lot of various radii on it, so you might be able to get that in there and start with the scraper. And the scraper will clean out all of the, mill marks, the cut marks, the things from your turning tools, or it's a carve bowl, right? Not a turn bowl.
Usually, I mean, because they have like two cherries has
But you might start with a little bit of scraping, and the scraping will kind of speed things up so that you can then jump to a high grit sanding and finish with that, and that won't put a lot of extra scratches.
Hey, DFM has a whole
he's
set.
got a little set.
Do we sell the gooseneck?
We don't have a gooseneck scraper. Here's the thing. There's very few occasions in the type of work that I do that a gooseneck scraper is a good choice.
Gotcha.
That's why we sell... Well, maybe we should tell them about the scraper we sell.
Yeah.
I don't know how big these bowls are or how big the radius is, but we sell a scraper called the mouse scraper that's shaped like this because it looks like a little mouse.
Aw.
These are at TWW
Don't
store.
get dust in my coffee.
Well, I didn't realize there was dust. What about the time I blew dust in your eyes?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Good times. These are at TWWstore.com. I prefer these far and away over a gooseneck scraper. The reason I don't like the gooseneck is because in order to get that shape, it has to turn in on itself, and a good portion of that scraper is completely unusable for doing these concave surfaces. So this shape, however, kind of like a kidney bean, but we call it the mouse, or it's a whale, depending on your perspective. This guy has a bunch of different radii and a flat on it, and I find this much, much more useful for things like that. So I don't
Ray
know.
Gilmore also says Eagle America or MLCS.
MLCS.
They're the same company. Sell bowl sanding bits as well.
Oh, there you go.
So
look into it.
Check out Eagle America or MLCS. And Karen, I think you're a guild member. We have a vendor discount with MLCS and Eagle America, 10% off your order and free shipping. There you go.
The Arbortech system is just okay, says Danny Fries. So there's your review. Take Danny's word for it. It's just okay.
Foxhall Woodworks. I just got here. What happened?
What happened?
Where are we? Great Scott.
Welcome to the Cremona evening show.
Pooterball's in the chat.
Pooterball.
Pooterball.
I love Pooterball.
We named one of our shows after Pooterball.
Yeah, we did.
Are there any good arguments between a 5-inch and a 6-inch ETS sander?
Yeah, I got a great argument. Don't buy the 5, buy the 6.
Okay.
The 5 is stupid.
Why would, you might want a smaller
If you
one.
work with smaller scale projects and you often find yourself maybe in a corner where the diameter of the pad could inhibit how far in you can get, and that's a problem for you, then maybe the 5 inch is the way to go. But 99% of the time, for me, the more real estate I have in square inches on that pad means I'm going to sand faster and I will be spending a lot less time sanding. It also means that it's a lot more stable on large surfaces. I have no use for a 5-inch sander. I have completely 100% moved over to 6-inch sanding pads, and if you do, if you build the stuff that I build and you build it in the similar way that I build it, you're going to be happier with a 6-inch sander.
So to follow up on John's question was talking about the dining table, the finish is unknown.
Yeah.
It was actually, he inherited it from his father-in-law who recently passed
so now
away.
we're basically talking about something that has a huge sentimental value that he just wants to baby because that's the right thing to do.
He's like, it may be an oil finish. So.
Understood. So again, I still don't have a better answer for you because there are things you can do to figure out what finish it is, but I think it's a matter of living with it. Did you test
underneath
You can, but the problem is a lot of times people and companies don't finish the underside exactly the same way or to the same extent that they finish the top. So you test it on the underside, it may not tell you what you need to know. But yeah, I don't really have great advice other than just take it easy with the table. And then, everything that happens is fixable. You could certainly deal with it when it happens. But I don't know that there's much you can do other than use it and then look at the results of that use.
Austin Jones has a funny question because I could totally see you doing this.
What's this?
What's your method of getting out of refinishing projects? It seems like as soon as people find out I'm a woodworker, they ask me to refinish something for them.
Well, usually, if no doesn't work, try hell no. That I find to be pretty effective. Refinishing really sucks.
Yeah.
If it's a labor of love, some people do enjoy it. If it's, let's say it's like the piece that you got from a family member that means something to you and you want to put that time and effort into it, sure, go for it.
Here's my method. Because when people find out I sew, they think I can sew anything.
Yeah.
And I can't. I say, oh, I don't do that.
Oh, that's not something you want to ask me to do.
That's not what I do.
Yeah.
Here, let me find somebody, and I just Google, local, and I send them to people that are advertising that they do this stuff.
Right. I think if you really need a good excuse and you're just trying to be nice, one of the things you can do is say that, look, refinishing is a process that is it's tough. It's tough on the material to refinish, and that you don't feel comfortable taking responsibility for their furniture. When I worked at that refinishing shop, on the wall, there was a sign that said, we are not responsible for damage that occurs as part of the finishing process. So we'll try to fix everything that happens, but we can't be held responsible if a veneer delaminates because we tried to refinish it. It's a very difficult process. Difficult in the sense that it's hard on the materials. So you could always get out of it by saying, look, I don't want to take on the responsibility for possibly ruining your piece of furniture.
Like what's the outcome if I ruin it? Like that's what you could ask them. So what if
I completely screw
So what
this
if I
up?
ruin it for you?
Yeah.
Like what if it just, like you said, delaminates?
Mr. Seminole 77 says 77 people in the house. Yo, I'm a 77.
I'm a 76.
My old lady. All right, TWW mouse scrapers in variable thickness. No, we only have one thickness. We used to carry a very thick rectangular card scraper, but it didn't sell that well. I actually do like a good thick scraper sometimes. But in the case of the mouse scraper, the thickness I don't think is really a great thing. Check this out though. So when we were getting these done, the guy who makes them said, hey, what do you think about a really thick version? Look at this chonker, you guys.
Chonker.
Can you see that? That's a chonker.
That is a
here,
chonker.
listen.
It's, yeah.
This is almost, I would say it's probably about 3/16 of an inch in thickness. He sent me this as a sample. I said, well, that's fantastic. I can use this to kill small animals around my house, like the rabbits that burrow under the house. Pop them in the head with it. But otherwise, I don't think this is going to be all that useful to me, so we didn't have these made. But I've got one. You want to buy it?
Yeah. Hey, did you see, I wanted to make sure you saw Fix This, Build That said, hey guys, I just wanted to say thanks for everything you all do.
Yeah, I put that up there. And I said he was here. When I said it was a star-studded show.
Yeah.
It's like we got a red carpet.
Nice.
J. Katz Moses walks down,
Yep.
does his little sachet, takes a picture. Then Brad walks by.
All right. Let's see. There was one other question. Oh, somebody asked about the quilt rack. How's it coming along? Joshua 80. How's it coming along,
Well,
Mark?
let's finish off the show.
Yep.
And I'll go get it.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So, because I quilt, we have many quilts in this house. A lot of them are on the floor or on like a little thing that they fall off on the floor. And so I worked with Mark to build a quilt rack ladder, which is how I damaged his outfeed table.
I'm not going to be able to get mic'd up.
Oh, that's okay. And Mark is one-upping me and making another quilt rack. But this is a standing rack.
I said, that's not a quilt rack.
This is a quilt rack.
This is a quilt rack. All right, so here is
the
where it's at right now.
So are you going to put something across, or is this it?
Oh, this is it.
Oh. I thought, why don't you have two?
Nicole, settle down. There's going to be bars that go from one side to the other. Hi, everybody. There's going to be bars that go from one leg to the other.
Okay.
That top rail is not actually intended for quilts.
Oh, okay.
That's decorative.
Okay.
We'll probably still use it for quilts.
Can you make a heart in there?
So there's going to be bars that go from side to side, and you also have a little shelf on the bottom, which is because it's like dead space underneath there. I decided to put a shelf there, and you could stack up blankets there as well. But there will be 3. I originally was going to go stainless steel, but I don't think I'm going to like the way that looks. So I have 3/8 inch brass rods that will connect from side to side, and that will be what you actually hang your quilts on. So
that's a no on the heart.
I'll be right back. Oh, I dropped my mic.
That was a mic drop.
Party foul.
I'm giving him a hard time. Mark's Woodworks, Nicole's quilts shouldn't be the worst. Shouldn't they be the worst enemies?
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna fight you. You know what I'm gonna do? I'll put a heart on there, like a tattoo heart. It says "Mom" on it. How about that?
Hey, if you ever want to follow my quilting, I put a lot of it up on my Instagram. Shut up.
Andrew says he's in tears because of my reaction. My reaction was a no reaction.
So the quilt that I'm making right now is a video game quilt. Over the years, I've collected lots of video game shirts that never seem to fit. So I've turned them into a quilt, so I'll actually be able to use these shirts. But this is what I'm currently working on right now.
You realize now I'm going to have to do a damn heart inlay on that thing.
Oh, inlay! Yes.
All right, we'll see what happens. Let's finish off the show, huh?
Yes, let's finish the show.
Brian says, as a official TWW design consultant, no heart.
Brian
says, no heart for you.
Mark's expression, can you add a heart?
Okay.
Oh, good
I think
stuff.
we're done here.
Yeah, we're gonna head on over.
The after show.
We're gonna continue this.
Whatever this is.
In the after show. So if you are a YouTube member, head on over to the community tab and you'll see a link to the show that you can just click on it. If you are a Patreon subscriber, I'm actually going to put the link to the post and you can get there easily through the post as well. So thanks for supporting the channel. Really, the after show is just more goofing around.
More of this crap.
Just not a lot of woodworking going on.
Everyone's saying to use the CNC for the heart. Well, the problem is the rail's already made.
Yeah.
And if you think that I could precisely locate a heart on a curved rail on my CNC, you grossly overestimate my CNC skills. Okay?
There you go. Okay.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. We will catch some of you in the after show. Thanks for your support. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye-bye.